Hauntings from my cat. My cat came back, so my cat died while I was away on spring break in the middle of March. Since then, I haven't really experienced anything myself, which is weird in my opinion, because normally I experience things more than anyone else in my house. My mom claims to hear like pattering across the kitchen floor, and really weird cold spots on the couch in the living room, things of that nature. Up until a few nights ago, everybody in the house had experienced some sort of weird occurrence except for me. Okay, so this past Friday night, I was home alone for a few hours dog sitting. I was hanging out with our 2 Yorkies in the front room of the house watching TV and texting a friend. Well, at the time, the dogs were both eating, but they both kind of looked up and then walked out of the room together. I was about to get up and see what they were doing when I felt something dart across the top of the couch behind my head, and a rush of air went by my ear. It happened really fast, so I sat there for a minute. And then at the same time, both dogs came hopping back into the room normal as can be. This really weirds me out, because both of our dogs hated the cat and avoided him at all costs. Today, I've encountered some weird feelings in the room he hung out in the most. The back living room, laundry room, my room, bathroom. Whenever I walk into one of these rooms, even if just for a moment, I feel like really unwelcome. Kind of like the room is angry with me? I don't know. It just really freaks me out and makes me uncomfortable. Other things have been happening in the house as well, which led me to have some questions. A, are spirits selective with who they show themselves to? Like, who would they prefer to do things to someone rather than to another person? B, would my dogs avoid the spirit of my cat as much as they avoided him in real life? C, how long does it take for a spirit to move back into one place after it dies? It has been about 2 months now, and I'm only starting to experience things, though my parents and sister claim to have seen stuff since the night after he died. Yellow-orange ring around iris. This is a question. So, before I get back into the backstory, I'm gonna describe it first so that you don't have to wait until the end to actually know what it looks like, since I can't actually show a picture because it doesn't actually show up on my camera, regardless of the lighting. Anyways, the ring is around both of my irises, and looks the exact same in both, except it mirrors from my left eye to my right. The color is about the same of a Cheeto, but unlike say Wilson's disease, the ring doesn't connect to my pupil at all. In fact, its borders are quite refined. The ring itself looks quite solid, so to speak. Speaking of pupil, it also happens to be in the most exact center of my iris, and just slightly closer to my pupil. Not that that matters, really. Now, let's get into the paranormal aspect of it, shall we? Given this is a paranormal subreddit and all. So a little over a year ago, I first found out about the wonders of ghosts and demons and whatnot. After having a black robed figure fly over my house. That's a story for another time though. Anyways, I decided to start trying to communicate with these beings with one of my friends. Being the smart man I am, I decided to make myself a Ouija, and not even look into any of it besides the part on how to use it after making one, because we didn't want to buy one. So we went on and talked to a few spirits. This went on for about a week until we met one particular guy who wasn't all too jolly, though to be fair, none of them were exactly nice anyways. This guy said a couple of rude things. I can't remember them all though. I just remember him swearing a bunch. It was at this time that my friend pointed out something. Dude, your eyes are both really yellow. Confused, I went upstairs to see what he was talking about. Lo and behold, my eye color was a dark yellow, like that of an old banana, minus the brown specks. My irises were normally a dark green color. We would then go to find that whenever we tried to communicate with any spirits, through really any way we tried, my eyes would become that yellow color. Fast forward a couple of months into March, and ending up haunted, my eyes were no longer than just the green they had always been, when not doing anything spirit related. This is when the orange ring first appeared. Funny, or maybe not so funny, I don't know. Thing is, nobody seemed to notice the sudden orange ring in my iris, like at all. Now, this was around March 2016. Let us fast forward to today. Now, there wasn't really an event that happened, really, just that I'm curious as to what it is, and I still feel pretty much the same as I always have. So I'm guessing if it were some sort of disease, I'd know by now, right? I went to the doctor a ton during the winter of 2016 because I kept getting sick with some weird flu-like virus over and over, which no doctor could figure out what it was. But eventually went away March of 2017, so I know it wasn't related to organ tissues or anything like that. I might also add that I've been to an eye doctor somewhere in between this time, and they didn't even acknowledge it. So there's also that. Anyways, the ring is still there and hasn't changed in the slightest. However, my irises are no longer the dark green they had always been before any of this. They're actually more closer to gray, with a slight green now. I tried looking up answers several times on Google and on other websites as well, and not once did I find anything that helped. Now, I ask here myself, if you have any questions about this, feel free to ask and I'll be more than happy to answer them here if it clears up anything, but I really want to know. Thanks in advance for taking the time to read this story. If you decide to try and help me figure this out, I also thank you as well. Contagious Banshee. This is a true scary story. Okay, I'll start off by telling you that the first set of repeated occurrences in my story happened over a period of time of about 3 weeks, in March of 2015. Usually, my friend and I would play Xbox Online for hours at night after school because, well, that's what friends do, right? This night was no different. Everyone in my house was asleep except for me. We were playing GTA 5 and doing the typical Grand Theft Auto massacring of the city folk as usual. He was talking to me about something through my headset, which I don't remember, when I heard the loudest, most blood-curdling scream right outside my window. Now, the only way I describe it is to imagine if someone being burned alive or being slowly tortured. My room was in the basement, and I had the usual small windows towards the ceiling. To put this into perspective, the scream itself lasted for a good 4 to 5 seconds, which doesn't sound like long, but the immense fear makes it feel much longer. I interrupted my friend to tell him I just heard something absolutely terrifying, to which his reply is, "Oh, that's weird. I know what you're thinking. Maybe it's a joke and he knows about it." Well, I don't have many friends, and they wouldn't do that. I mean, I could feel the scream inside me, if that makes any sense. Anyways, I got mad because he didn't believe me, but then eventually calmed down and just forgot about it. About 2 days passed, and nothing really was going on that day since it was a Saturday. It was light outside, and I wanted to take the trash out that was in the garage when I heard it again, that same Bloody Mary scream I had heard a couple days ago outside, and down the road it sounded. It almost immobilized me with fear. Then I shook it off and decided to find out what it was. I walked through the house and went to the front door. My younger sister was sitting on the couch listening to music, and I asked her if she heard that with a raised voice. She said that she did, but just didn't care. What was going on, I thought? Why did no one else feel any attraction to these instances? I opened the front door and looked down the road. No person on fire, no one lying in the road half dead, nothing. Was I going crazy? I went back in the house feeling totally confused. Now fast forward maybe a week. I was playing my Xbox alone during the day now, but I don't know which day. I started to remember the screams, and that I would be prepared for anything, should it happen again. When someone interrupts my train of thought, I hear the scream right outside my window again. The fear this sound produces is unmatched. Even though I was waiting for it, I paused the game and ran upstairs and flew open the door only to find my next-door neighbor look right into my eyes with sheer panic. As she frantically backed out of her driveway, she sped off like a bat out of hell. Oh my god, I thought, what's going on? Oddly, the friendship that was 7 years had stopped, involuntarily. I don't know if the screams caused it, but I had another friend who had moved back into town and I told him about it. He was shocked and confused as well as to who or what caused the sounds. We drove around town all the time for hours every day, and one night he was very silent. I asked him what was up and he said, "I heard the scream. The one you spoke about? I heard it in my house. In my basement. When I was home alone. Somehow I felt good about what had happened to him. Someone had experienced what I had, and I didn't feel crazy." I asked him what it was like, and he said, "It was like someone dying in his house, but inside he knew that there wasn't." He said for him, the scream was a woman's voice. I don't know what that meant, so I decided to look it up on the internet. I couldn't find anything, well, other than old folk tales of the Banshee scream. We just decided to shrug it off and go on with our daily lives then. 2 days later, he texted me in the middle of the night saying he heard it again. He had been sleeping in his car, far away from his house for fear he might hear it again. He was at the park and he said he had heard an even more horrifying scream coming from the woods. Unbelievably, he still slept there. I mean, I would have driven to the next town if it was him to avoid that sound. We looked it up again only to find out nothing. They stopped. We still don't know what had happened during those occurrences. Was it all a big joke? Were we going crazy? I don't know, but to this day, I still don't know what had caused those petrifying screams. The thing in the woods. I'm not very good at punctuation, so try not to be triggered. This happened to me and my 3 friends many years back when we were kids, maybe 10 years old or so. The date was March 7th, and I was having friends sleep over for my birthday. We were all just spooking each other out, which could have led to us just seeing this out of imagination, but I doubt it, as we all had seen the same thing and at the same time as well. One of my friends confessed to fake seeing him on one sighting of him, and I don't remember if he said he never saw him or not. The other friend, I don't remember if we talked about it, if it was real or not, but we joke about the day a lot. So with us all spooked out, because I told a story about how there was a collapsed tent in the woods that had been abandoned for years, which is a true story, we all decided to go to the best place to enter the woods. A few minutes later of talking about how we weren't scared to enter the woods, we see a man wearing a torn white shirt, pants of some kind, have good memory but not that good, and a copper-looking mask, which I think was indeed made of metal, with one eye hole, a glass lens I think, walking in the woods. He then walked behind a tree, and we all ran at the same time. We went back later that day to check and there were no sightings of him anywhere. I am certain it was not something normal because of the one eye that was Cyclops-like, and that the area of the woods he was at was almost on my property. This was a weird experience I thought I would share with the community, and see if anyone has any ideas on what he is or was. On my recent adventure in the woods, in the last 3 years, I've had a lot of strange occurrences, like being hooted at, but not by human-sounding voices, and by many at the same time. This happened when I was with a friend as well. Another time I was going into the woods, I forgot why, maybe to take pictures, and I felt like something was off. Like I was being watched and hunted. I ran out of the woods, but not without fearing for my safety, and thinking I might not escape whatever I was feeling. I literally had to hop over streams and stuff to get out quickly. I pulled out a headache with my fingers and it got stuck in my skin. I posted this in a couple other places too. I have no experience with energy work or paranormal things, but am interested in it and believe in it. Last March, I got very ill with the flu. I was flat on my back in bed for a solid 5 or 6 days, with basically every single symptom. It was miserable. Definitely one of the sickest I've ever been. Towards the end of it, I was left extremely fatigued and with a splitting razor-sharp headache that had been raging for days. I had been reading a book about energy work and then closed my eyes to go to sleep. I felt almost in a trance state and decided to try to draw out my headache. I felt like a steel ball in my head, like a solid object. I lay there and drowsily stroked my forehead, imagining my fingers drawing out the pain. I would then flick it off my fingers away from my body. I started to feel the pain gathering and centering at a specific place in my forehead, right where I was stroking it out. The pain concentrated, and then it started to move out through my skin. I was really shocked and surprised at what was happening. My headache was literally gone, but now I had this pain moving through my skin, by my temple, and the side of my forehead as well. I think if I'd been able to stay focused, I definitely could have pulled it all the way out. As it was, the pain got stuck in my skin, My skin in that little area instantly grew extremely sensitive to the point in which I couldn't even sleep on that side of my face. However, my headache was completely gone. The skin was much more bearable, and I would take any day over the splitting, throbbing headaches. It lasted another day and then faded as I got better. I still like to think back, and I still like to think I'd marvel at what happened. There is no doubt I pulled the pain out. I felt every single moment of it happening. It makes me so curious and want to explore more. Has anyone heard anything like this happen? What should I try next? An entity in my home? Hi. I moved into a new home in March, and sporadically I have been feeling a negative presence, which is the best way I can describe it. Notably, it's been getting stronger. I think it may feed off of my negative thoughts, emotions, or actions. I have always struggled with certain things, monogamy, but now I live with my fiancé, and it has been getting more and more difficult. Never before have I felt this presence of it becoming in the room with me. Recently, I've been becoming more spiritually aware and in tune with my spirit guides or whatnot, so perhaps that has something to do with it too. My friend's wife, who says she can sense spirits, told him she felt uneasy in my living room during a night of drinking wine and hanging out late. She was not aware I told him anything. I feel it when I'm downstairs in my living room. There is a big window in the front, so at first, I thought it was a feeling of uneasiness of being watched. But it's not that. It just feels negative. And I just know that I should not be downstairs. It's as if my gut is telling me to go upstairs. It only happens at night, and has become so frequent that I can't hang out downstairs late and even watch TV myself. Upstairs feels safe. But a few times in the past 2 weeks, last night being the worst, I woke up around 2 or 3-ish feeling terrified, as if there was something down there. What do you think? Edit. During my latest feeling the presence, I told myself, if I meditate and fall asleep, maybe it will come to me in my dreams. Maybe I'll find out what it is. I remember an image of a woman. Stereotypical mid-century woman. White nightgown and long hair. I cannot see her face. For some reason, I get idea of blood and a monkey wrench with it. Could I be making this up? I don't know. Maybe another entity is manipulating me for this. When I told my friend from earlier, he said he didn't want to scare me, but when he and his wife were over a few days ago, when she felt that uneasy feeling, she saw a girl, but also could not see her face. Second edit. This happened in the early afternoon. I have never felt it before. I was driving to a coffee shop today, listening to music, an album titled "The Devil and God Are Raging Inside of Me." I was worrying, thinking of all the things that have happened in my life recently. In May, I had a near-death experience. Myself and the people I was with felt that it was over for us. Somehow we lived, although it seems it was meant to happen, that we were meant to almost die. The circumstances of the days in the past years seem to have led us to this moment, that we were together in that moment and share that experience there. Anyways, I was feeling overwhelmed about everything that's happening. Is there an entity in my new home? Is there a lustful demon following me? Is it manipulating me into thinking that it's a ghost? I felt horrible and alone. Alone! Suddenly I have this feeling, a bright and warm feeling of oneness and love. It felt like a light shining all over me and in me. I've never felt anything like it before. Not even close. Better than any orgasm or drug or anything like that. I just felt so loved. I thought to myself, this is God. And then I cried. I wept in my car because it was just so beautiful. Like I was being touched or hugged by God or the Creator or whatever. I've never been religious. I've been on a spiritual path for the past few years, and my near-death experiences has intensified it, but I never really thought of the Creator until that moment. After that feeling today, I reached out to 4 priests, trying to find answers. I went to a friend's house that I hadn't spent time with in a long while. He is the most religious person I know. If it's from the other side, it's a good trick, because for the first time in my life, I have a feeling of faith. For the first time in my life, I believe in Jesus Christ and God. Anyways, I went to my friend's house, and we prayed. He told me if I believed in God and was his child, then he wouldn't let anything harm me. I had that special experience told, but on the way home, today perhaps I'm being skeptical, thinking that I'm needing more. I picked up some sage to burn in my home and some stones for protection to do a smudging. This guy sends me a message that if I truly believe in God, and say, in the name of Jesus Christ, evil spirits are not welcome here, or along those lines that they will leave. No sage needed. I'm thinking, well, 100% faith is hard. This is still hours old to me. I start chatting with him a bit, and he tells me about his faith and main sins and problems, lust, porn, and masturbation, the main three that I have problems with myself, the exact ones that I think cause the most negative energy for me. If something is feeding off my negative energy, it's feeding off of energy from those things, and then the feeling hits me again. Not nearly as intense, but that our paths were meant to cross. That he is like me. We're connected through God, so now I'm 100% in. I'm talking to God on the way home, telling him that I'm his, and I'll do what he wants, and I want to carry out his plan for me. When I get home, my dog doesn't like to come downstairs at night, I think because of the entity. During the day, she hangs down there, but at night, when no one is home, she is upstairs. I realized this tonight. I come home and she was up there. She didn't come down until I mentioned going outside to pee. She came down and went outside and did her business and came up and went back upstairs. I asked her to come down and she wouldn't. She just stared at me from the top of the steps. She looked nervous. I said, "In the name of Jesus Christ, all evil beings must leave this home." I had the door open too. She came immediately downstairs to me. She begins to act much better. I got a great night's sleep.